Hello everybody and welcome back to another Thursday Thought. Today, I just thought I would mention the whole thing of horses have very different personalities. Now, sometimes you see horses, they're just out in the pasture eating grass, just like all the other horses. I mean, unless you're a horse person, you really just look out there and go, oh, horses, you know what I mean? There's not really a huge difference just if you look out into a pasture that you're gonna go, oh, that horse seems like this, that horse seems like that. There's just not really that much of a difference when you just look at them. But I will tell you, and it's funny because I always knew horses have personalities when I was little and didn't have a horse. And I'd met horses before, but there's a huge difference in just being around horses, like even once a week when you take a lesson, and actually being around horses, and specifically the same horses every single day. And it's just so funny because, like, for example, Buddy, he's always been kind of grumpy. Like, he'll pin his ears and walk by and act like he's kind of like, don't mess with me. Now, he was little. He was like eligible to be considered a large pony. That's how little he was, like height-wise. He was right on the like height meter. I think there's a certain hands high they have to be under to be considered a pony still, and he was like right at it. So he technically could be considered a large pony, and he walked around acting like he was Mr. Boss. Now, it was all attitude. He was very much like somebody bigger than him or meaner than him started to come at him, and he was like, nope, I'm done. A lady at one barn that I was at, she said, he's a middle boss. He's not really bossy, but he doesn't take crap. You know what I mean? And then we have Rio. Rio is who I consider my big goofball. He is like, he's just a goofy boy, and he loves like mini horses and like the mini donkeys, and for some reason he's the one who always likes to hang out with like the drifters, because he's kind of a drifter too. He doesn't really stick with one friend in particular. That's more so now than when Buddy was still alive. He and Buddy were like this. Usually if I saw Rio, I knew Buddy was at least around close by. Now he kind of like goes back and forth between a few horses, but he doesn't really have like that one horsey friend. But he's a big goofball. He just is. He's goofy, he's fun, and he likes to be all in your business. Buddy was really sweet, and Buddy was really friendly, and he was very curious about children. Rio is like, wants to be in your business all the time. He wants to be at you, what are you doing, you know. Unless there's food involved, and then you can just be like, forget you, I want food. And I love Rio. He's so much fun to be around, and he's just super sweet. And then you have Dash. Now Dash is kind of like, it's funny because when there was a time period where there was a paint gelding, and this paint gelding, he was gelded very late in life, and because of that, he was still very uppity and Mr. Fierce and wanted to boss people around. He thought he was still a stallion. And so he was in this pasture, and he was just running these horses around like crazy. And the owner decided that he would put Dash in the same pasture as this gelding. Now, Dash could also be a bit of a same kind of thing, but he typically was pretty good about just like, he was okay if he was just left alone, if that makes sense. He didn't need to feel like he needed to go tell people what to do. Or if they were eating and he wanted to eat something, he would tell them to move away. But he didn't go looking for trouble like this paint did. This paint would go looking for people to harass. And not people, horses, you know what I mean. And those two started riling each other up, and the reason that the owner had put them together was because he thought that the best thing would be is those two would tire each other out. They would realize that they're both kind of on equal standing as far as like one can't push the other around, and they'd kind of fight each other off, and then they would calm down. And funny enough, they both calmed down. It was crazy. I remember coming out one day and the paint's just chill, Dash is just pretty chill. And Dash kind of respected the paint a little more. He wasn't so like, Dash didn't try to be above the paint. And I think Dash kind of like was like, okay, you can be the boss, I'll do whatever. As long as you don't cause a problem and rile everybody up, I'll just kind of sit back. Like, that's kind of their relationship. So the paint would come around, Dash would kind of move away. And it was interesting. But Dash is kind of like, how do I put him? Dash is kind of intense sometimes. He's pretty chill, but he's kind of like one of those Mr. Rough and Tough, like, don't mess with me. Like, I'm a big boss, but at the same time, like, he's not gonna be mean per se. He has been mean in the past to other horses if they got too close or annoyed him, but he's so funny. He has a lot of personality in his face. I know that sounds kind of weird, like how many expressions could a face of a horse like actually express? But sometimes I talk to him and he looks at me like, or he's like, he's hilarious. And it's funny, recently I've noticed that I've been letting him out, and he realized that if he stands there for a second, when I first let him out of the fence, I'll scratch wherever there's like flies kind of flying around him. And so he'll wait for me to scratch him, and then he'll go back inside to get food. It's hilarious. And one thing that's really funny is I'll go to scratch his belly and I'll get up towards his back leg, and he will lift his back leg at first, because if you don't know a horse and you don't know what they're gonna do, which I've been around him enough that I'm pretty comfortable, but I've never had a horse do this before. He starts lifting his back leg, and at first you think he's gonna kick you, but he just holds it there and lifts it so you can get under his leg and get that nice scratchy spot. It's like a dog. It's hilarious. And that's just been happening recently, and it's just crazy. Personalities in horses are insane. There's just so many different ones. Like, there's one out here, his name is Tango, and he's this little blonde, well, he's a little Palomino paint horse, and he's young. He's probably about like 4 or 5, I think. And you can tell he's young because that little thing will come running up to you. I mean, he's not super little, he's like average size, but he comes running up to you and like a little kid. It is hilarious. And he's just got this like goofy look on his face, and he just comes up to you and he's looking at you and he's all curious, and it's adorable. And then there's one that is kind of like the punk kid. Like, he's like, I don't need anybody. Like, I don't care if you're there or not. Whatever. Like, I do what I want. I'm a rebel. And his name is Rowdy, and that's how he acts. And then there's Bella, who is the Frisian, and she's like a big mom. Like, that's what she's like. She's like the matriarch of the pasture. Like, they got in this new horse, and she was essentially feral. And this girl rescued her, essentially, and has been training her, and she's planned on rehoming her after she trains her for like 90 days. And that horse went out in the pasture, and nobody else liked her, especially this one mare who's kind of like a drama queen. She's like a blonde Miss I'm in charge kind of girl. And the little Paint, which is the feral horse, she comes in and she gets chased around and not really accepted by anybody. And there is Mama Bella, the big Frisian. She comes over there and she's like, honey, it's okay. I'll take care of you. I'll be your friend. You don't have to worry about those guys. I'm just going to stick with you and make sure you just get integrated in. And she did. And every time I was here, Bella was right next to her, and Bella was just keeping an eye on her until finally she integrated with the rest of the herd, and now she can be around all the other horses. They don't bother her. They don't chase her around. And Bella's not really mean. Bella's very calm, but she's very like authoritative. Like she is like mom of the pasture, and it's hilarious. But it's just crazy. There's so many more personalities here in the barn that I could name off. There's Daisy. I consider her the thought of the pasture. THOT. For younger people, you know what that means. For people who don't understand that, it means that hoe over there. I say that because every time she's in heat, she chases around the boys and she just sticks her booty in all of their faces. That is very not ladylike, but that's how she is. She's Miss, oh my gosh, boy crazy teenager is what she acts like. It's hilarious. In fact, at one point, she was in heat and Dash was like trying to get a drink of water, and there were all these other horses who also wanted a drink of water, but he needed a drink. And so she chases all the other horses off away from the water trough, okay? Just chases them off, and then she steps back and lets him drink. And she doesn't drink. She just stands there and watches him drink. And if any other horse would come near the water trough, she would chase them away so His Majesty could drink from the water trough undisturbed. Yeah. And then the next day, she's stuck up Britches. And Britches, she's chasing around Britches. Britches is the love of her life. And that's my trainer's little 5-year-old bred roan gelding. He is a big scaredy cat, but he's hilarious. He's really sweet. He's just like always looks like he's like always afraid that somebody's gonna like jump at him. It's hilarious, but he is really sweet. Anyway, and it's just crazy. There's so many other stories about horses and their personalities. And I think it's one thing that if you're not a horse person, you probably don't even really think about. And even as horse people, it's like, wow, even having all different kinds of horses, they constantly surprise you with their personalities. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.